Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. We're certainly pleased to have everybody here. This is Tuesday, October 9th, and we'll start our meeting, as we always do, with a roll call of your City Council.
Council members Aguilar? Here. Anderson?
Here.
Entenmann?
Here.
Erpenbach? Here. Jameson?
Here.
Karski?
Here.
Rolfing?
Here.
Staggers?
Present.
As is most often the case, everybody is here tonight, and we're certainly pleased by that. We always lead our City Council meetings with an invocation, and tonight we're very, very blessed to have Pastor Barbara Wangsness of the First Lutheran Church here in Sioux Falls. After Pastor Barbara is done, we'd ask you to remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Barbara, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let us begin this session in the name of God the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Let us pray. Almighty God, we lift before you all who govern this city of Sioux Falls. May those who hold power fully understand that it is a trust from you to be used not for personal glory or profit, but for the service of your people. May they do their work with a spirit of wisdom and charity and justice. Help them as they faithfully serve and promote the common good and the common life for all the diverseness of the citizens of Sioux Falls. This we ask in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. We're certainly pleased to have everybody here tonight. Is there a representative for White King here tonight? Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. And would you mind introducing yourself to the people of Sioux Falls along with your guests?
Right. My name is Deb Versteg, and on behalf of the visually impaired of Sioux Falls in South Dakota, we want you to help us celebrate White Cane Safety Day. And my guest here also is Mike Cumish and Colleen Moran.
Good. Mike, welcome. Colleen, welcome. And we have some other folks here.
Shelley Hart.
Shelley, hi.
Lorraine Olson.
Hello there, Lorraine. Nice to meet you. Thank you. Well, welcome everybody. And what I'll do is I'm going to read your proclamation. And who is it your sign? Your puppy.
This is Corey.
This is Corey. Okay. Very good. Welcome, Corey. The proclamation reads, whereas the white cane is a simple yet effective tool that enables citizens with blindness and visual impairments throughout Sioux Falls and the nation to enjoy greater independence and freedom of movement while allowing them to navigate safely through their environment, avoiding physical barriers and hazards. Whereas the white cane is also a symbol of dignity, independence, and determination that serves as a tangible reminder that individuals who are blind or have impaired eyesight possess not only the desire, but also the ability to lead full, independent, and productive lives. Whereas the white cane has the right of way in traffic when a blind person crosses an intersection, and that motorists are to pay special attention and stop when they see someone with a white cane at an intersection. Whereas the annual observance of White Cane Day emphasizes the need for all citizens to be aware of the presence of blind persons in their communities and to work together to keep the streets, highways, sidewalks, walkways, public buildings and facilities, and places of public accommodation and amusement safe and functional for the blind. Whereas The 2012 celebration of White Cane Day provides a unique opportunity for the citizens of our town, the City of Sioux Falls, to renew their commitment to eliminating physical and attitudinal barriers that continue to hinder the full participation of blind persons in our society. Now, therefore, I, Mike Huther, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, do hereby proclaim October 13th, 2012 as White Cane Day in Sioux Falls, and I strongly encourage all citizens to recognize the white cane as a symbol of dignity, independence, and determination, and to follow the white cane laws. Congratulations and thanks for being here tonight. For the people of our town.
It also applies to guide dogs.
And it also applies to guide dogs. Very good, very good. Colleen, thank you so much, and we really appreciate you being here tonight. Well, what a tremendous way to start the meeting. I certainly appreciate your presence here tonight. Prior to the meeting, I had the opportunity to engage Cub Scout Pack 225 from Robert Frost Elementary. Oh my gosh, they asked some very, very challenging questions, and certainly pleased to meet these young men as well as their parents and leaders. If I can ask Cub Scout Pack 225 to stand for a round of applause. Gentlemen. Very good. As well as we have the Multicultural Center's English as a Second Language class here tonight. Teacher Diane Ron and Lily Jasorovic are also here tonight, if they wouldn't mind standing. Very good. Thank you. Well, thank you very much for being here tonight. We certainly appreciate it. We'll now continue our meeting with tonight's consent agenda. Council, any changes or motions?
Move to approve, Anderson.
Second, Aguilar.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda, seconded by Councilor Aguilar. Are there any comments? If not, a roll call vote, please.
Councilors Jamison,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Intamin.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Now move on to tonight's regular agenda. Council, any changes?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Rolfing.
There's been a motion to approve by Councilor Erpenbach, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Any changes or
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Erpenbach.
I would move to amend the regular agenda by withdrawing agenda item number 10.
Second, Rolfing.
There's been a motion to amend tonight's regular agenda by withdrawing item number 10 on the posted agenda. It was seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Any comments? A roll call vote, please, on the amendment.
Councilors Jamison,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Intamin.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Any final comments? We now have an amended main motion for tonight's agenda. Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Jamison,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Intamin.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you. Folks, you do have an opportunity to engage the council. If you'd like to do that, please just come forward. Just state your name for the people of Sioux Falls. And if you could keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, the council would certainly appreciate that. Sir, welcome to tonight's city council meeting.
Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to speak just a few minutes tonight. My name is Wes Van Essen, and I've been a resident here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota for 4.5 years. We have been Minnesota residents for 70 years, and when my wife and I decided to retire, our children who had lived in Sioux Falls for several years wanted us to move to the big city. And so here we are in the big city of Sioux Falls, and a beautiful city, I will say. I just want to commend you people for making this city such a prosperous and going forward in such a terrific direction. It was a letdown on October 2, not because of our 53rd wedding anniversary that day, but because of the news that we heard on the local television station. This is what it said. Sioux Falls City Council approved selling alcohol at a Howard Wood Field with USD takes on NDSU on October 20. I have been an alcohol administrator for 28 years in Minnesota, and I have seen so much devastation firsthand and witnessed it firsthand with all the things that go on with alcohol. Shattered relationships and broken homes and loss of jobs, financial bankruptcy, disrupted marriages, and alcohol-related automobile accidents and fatalities. In the year 2010, South Dakota alone had 137 individuals that lost their lives due to alcohol-related accidents, let alone thousands of injuries, not necessarily on a short-term basis, but on a long-term basis, maybe even a lifetime basis. In the year 2006, many of you remember the devastation that had caused 9 teenagers to lose their lives in 1 year in the city of Sioux Falls as well as the surrounding areas. And did you know that 3 people out of every 10 in our population of our nation today will be affected one way or another by alcohol? Now, many people that have come through our 30-day residential inpatient program, most of them will say that our regular drinking started when we were in college. Now, I have been in business all my life, and I've served on several different boards: Housing and Urban Renewal Board, School Board, and Church Boards, and Chamber of Commerce many years, and Retail Committee, let alone the 28 years of being involved in a board at the facility that I worked. And I know you can't be all things to all people at all times. But I would so often ask myself the question, am I making the right decision? Am I doing the right thing? Am I thinking of prevention? Am I thinking of safety? And safety is the number one things that I've talked about most in our country and in our counties and our states and in our cities. Safety in the workplace, safety in the schools, safety on the streets and highways and parks and homes and healthcare facility, and it goes on and on. And when I think of the safety that pertains to alcohol and our students today, I have seen so much devastation. About a year or two ago, the city, and I don't know who was all involved in it, but there was a tremendous amount of advertising about drinking and the things that has a problem with drinking. And radio stations and television ads were put on, and they encouraged adults to talk to students about drinking. And yet, when I heard that newscast on October 20, I got to tell you that I was saddened, and it really hurt me because of the experience that I've had dealing with problem drinking for 28 years. Thank you.
Ms. Van Essen, welcome to Sioux Falls, and thank you very much.
Yes.
Folks, anybody else who wanted to engage the council tonight? Well, very good. Again, thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate it. We'll now move to item number 8.
First reading an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city to define and prohibit certain forms of solicitation.
Good evening, Doug Barthel, Police Chief. This ordinance, I also have with me this evening Keith Allenstein with the City Attorney's Office. He helped craft this ordinance. This ordinance is in response to issues that we have received from the public, as well as issues that our officers have encountered. And as I've stated when I previously presented this to the Public Services Committee, our intent here is not to take away from people that truly have a need and try and prohibit that, but frankly, there are plenty of great services offered in this community that can help with people that have a need, and we believe that's their best outlet. We have met with some of the folks at the Homeless Advisory Board, and if this comes to fruition, we will work on a public education piece with them. And actually, the timing of this is probably going to get us about into the winter months when we probably won't see a lot of this activity, so it's going to give us some time before next spring when we actually would probably begin most of the enforcement with it. But the current ordinance basically just prohibits begging if you are in a public place and if you detain or attempt to detain someone. It doesn't pertain to some of the begging that we've seen recently, the soliciting from traffic, where you might see someone by an interstate off-ramp or maybe sitting at an entrance to a parking lot. I'll just hit on a few of the highlights. The main changes with this would first off prohibit soliciting on private property without the permission of the owner of that property. It would also prohibit you from soliciting in an aggressive manner. So you wouldn't be able to follow someone, repeatedly ask for money, harass them, stand in front of them, put your hands on them. It is not going to prohibit them from simply asking for money. We have to be careful that we don't infringe upon their constitutional rights and be able to have that freedom of speech. So someone walking down the sidewalk encounters another person. If they ask for money, you say no. You keep right on walking. That won't be a violation. It currently is not now and won't be with this new proposal. And then the other big change with this, it would prohibit soliciting from traffic. So basically standing by the street corner and asking for money, they wouldn't be able to do that. They would have to be basically in a private parking or private property area, but then they also need that permission to be able to do that. So those are the main changes to it. I would also add that as we went through the recodification process, and there was some notation that our current ordinance probably has some constitutional issues, so there definitely is some revision that is probably needed as we go forward at some point. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. Or
Thank you, Chief. Council, any questions? Yes, Councilor Staggers.
Yes. I guess I didn't realize that this was a real problem in Sioux Falls. I mean, I do, remember the 26th Street ramp, from I-29, people standing there. But other than that, I guess I didn't realize this was a real concern here in Sioux Falls.
Well, and you're right, it isn't a huge problem, and that's part of our reasoning in bringing this forward, to become proactive before it becomes a problem. Rapid City currently has an ordinance that's very similar to this, and this was modeled somewhat after that. But just in our encounters with a few people that are doing it, the word is out there already that you can come to Sioux Falls, and we have had specific instances where officers encounter someone that might be soliciting by an interstate or something like that. They know the law to the letter, and they know exactly what they can and can't do, and they don't live here. They're from out of state, so they're coming here. They set up shop, and our fear is that the word will spread because. There are a lot of cities that already have similar prohibitions, and if the word gets out that you can just come here and set up shop, frankly, I think the numbers are going to grow. And we do get a lot of calls when people see that. They think it's against law. We respond like we do any call, and frankly, there isn't a lot we can do with them. We'll have a conversation with them. We could ask them to leave. If they don't want to, there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, if I could just say something and then also ask another quick question. I think probably a lot of people are becoming more aware of Sioux Falls because of the various social services that we have. We have a real, strong safety net here in Sioux Falls, and I think probably people hear about that, and instead of coming here just knowing they can stand by the street corner and solicit. But having said that, I'm not clear about the 26th Street ramp from I-29. People stand there. Now, would that ban those people from standing there with a sign?
If they're soliciting from traffic, yes. As the cars are coming by, if they're holding a sign, yes, this would prohibit that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. And if I may, just to comment on, you're correct that this city offers some great services for the people in need. And frankly, I think that's part of what we're addressing here as well. Rather than send the message for someone that drives into our city and have it appear as though we don't offer services to people in need, that couldn't be any further from the truth. So rather than soliciting from citizens, I would much rather see a citizen give that money to one of the great organizations that provide those services and let them determine who truly has a need and who doesn't.
Councilor Urbanbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just was going to say exactly what the chief just said. I think that's the most important part of this, is that it's coming out of a concern for folks who are truly in need, and we're not necessarily seeing those folks standing beside the street corner. And so we really do want to make sure that Sioux Falls is known as a place that takes care of its own, and that's the issue with this. Thank you for working on it.
Councilor Jameson.
Chief, what would be the penalty if somebody decided not to follow the ordinance? What would happen?
This would be a Class 2 misdemeanor city ordinance violation. Currently, the bond or fine amount that's set by the court is $95.
And or 30 days in jail.
And the protocol that you would probably execute in your officers would be to probably take this person aside, ask them if they need help, find some assistance for them. You wouldn't just book them.
Well, again, and that's part of the reason why we're working with some of the homeless folks. Our goal isn't, because if they truly are in need, they don't have $95 to pay for a fine. And if there are ways that we can get them pointed in the right direction, in the right hands, and get them to stop doing this, that's really our goal. So, yeah, this isn't about seeing how many people we can haul to jail.
Well, Council, thank you. Would anybody want to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, October 16th at 7 p.m.?
So move, Anderson.
Second, Entenmann.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made that motion, seconded by Councilor Entenmann. If there is no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilors Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
And that is passed 8-0. Item 9.
First reading an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, authorizing the issuance of its wastewater system revenue bond to the South Dakota Conservancy District, authorizing the use of the proceeds thereof for capital improvements, pledging a portion of the wastewater system revenue of the city to the payment of the bond, fixing the terms of the bond, authorizing the execution and delivery of a loan agreement between the city and the South Dakota Conservancy District, and authorizing the execution and delivery of the bond to the South Dakota Conservancy District in an amount not to exceed $12,464,000.
Good evening, Trent Lubers with Public Works Administration. I also have Mark Perry, wastewater superintendent, with me tonight. I apologize. In Public Works, we often abbreviate things, and I try to go through these presentations and find them, and SRF is one that I missed. SRF stands for State Revolving Fund, and what that is it's a fund that we use to leverage public money. It's granted through block grants from the EPA, federal government, and we leverage that money to take out a loan at a low interest so that we can do these large-scale projects and do them so that we don't have those bumpy large capital generation needs through rates, and then we pay them down with cash. We use that to smooth out the rates going forward. So what this Loan 34 does for us is it allows us to do 2 more projects, Sioux River South Phase 2 replacement and the lining projects. We've talked about the lining projects in the past. Those are those projects where we actually take the cured-in-place liner, that sock that we pull inside the pipe, and we cure it to put a new pipe inside a pipe. It's a very great technology for built-out areas, for sections of pipe that don't need to have total replacement or capacity added. Sioux River South Interceptor Phase 2 is a much larger part of this project, and this was a project that was identified in the assessment that we did in post-2010. This is the next major sewer project for those projects. It's about 9,000 feet of upsizing pipe from 36 and 48 inches up to 54 inches. It allows us to have more capacity in the sewer system, and it also allows us to tighten up those joints and take care of the areas that were leaking, where the pipe was deteriorating. some of the costs associated with this project. $12 million is the Phase 2 project. The pipelining is $464,000. The loan terms is $12.464 million. It's at 2.25% over the next 10 years. We have a very robust financial plan in place. We have good policies in place. This loan was actually figured into our revenue adequacy model, the rates that we brought forward in June. So this is already supported with the rate revenue that we'll be generating. And then below the schedule is just the process that we go through. We start with authorizing the application, and we go through a public hearing. There are several processes that we go through with the Board of Water and Natural Resources. A little bit more about the Phase 2 project. And just to visualize this project, if you think about the sewer system running along the river system, if you start at 41st Street, where the Big Sioux River and 41st Street cross, and you follow that all the way around where the Tud Hill Lift Station is, Central Main, all the way through to the spillway, that's the large diameter sewer that we've been replacing since 2010. And from essentially where the old railroad bridge is there, just near Western and 57th Street, through the Western Avenue intersection and Yankton Trail Park to connect to where we stopped this year. This is the final link in that sewer that goes around the outside of the city, that large diameter sewer. There are some advantages to this sewer project. If you look, the old alignment ran along the river and along the bike trail. And this isn't a very good graphic to see, but it essentially ran right next to the river and the bike trail. The new alignment is going to run closer to the interstate system. It's going to run through the road on the outside of Yankton Trail Park on the north end. There will be some impact to the soccer fields. There's about 3 soccer fields that will be impacted, but the large portion of the soccer fields will be replaced. One of the things that we're going to do with this project is we're going to break it up into 2 separate bid packages, 2 separate projects. We'd like to bid yet this winter the first phase of the project, which is going to run that section through Yankton Trail Park. There's lots of rock out there that we need to blast through. It's good wintertime work, and so we're going to do that phase first. The second phase will actually go through the Western Avenue intersection. There's a street construction project that's going to impact the Western Avenue and 57th Street intersection, so we'll coordinate the second half of that work so that there's not multiple disruptions in that area. The other project, the other graphic is the little yellow dots are just the various areas throughout the city where we'll do lining. It's not the big major project where you see that 9,000 feet. It's little areas here and there. It's manholes. It's 200-foot sections of pipe. It's those types of things where we go through and do the assessment where you see leaking. So there are several areas throughout the city that we'll do. With your support tonight for this, we will have a second reading, and we would process and move forward with entering into the loan and then bidding the projects yet this year to get that Yankton Trail Park project started.
Well, thank you. Council, any questions? Yes, Councilor Rolfing.
Let's go back to the map just before that with my I don't want to say my soccer fields, but I will. As you may or may not know, Trent, we're bidding for the regional soccer tournament in 2015. Hopefully we'll get it. Which fields are going to be impacted? I see that we've got, let's see, 1, 3, 5,
I'm not
2,
sure.
4,
On
6 would be?
On the west edge of the project,
Okay.
Where you see that come through, there's that angled field.
21?
Yeah, and numbers, I'm sorry, I'm not good on the numbers of the
6
project.
would be with the line going north and south kind of there through the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then, okay, well, there'll probably be another one there on the west end there. We'll probably catch another 1 or 2. I'm concerned this would be done in 2013.
And this is the point of trying to get the project bid yet this winter is to do the removals, to do that road, to move the trees yet this fall.
Because you're going to lose a lot of trees right there. It looks like on that northeast corner up there, that whole thing.
Our intent will be to move the trees. Yeah, we want to get that done this fall. We've gone through the process to get informal quotes, and we hope to bring that through yet this fall to move the trees. What they want to do is transplant them and do them yet this fall, and they call them winter them in. So right around they'll set them and get them frozen in. and they have a good success rate with that.
Okay.
We've worked very closely with Parks as far as scheduling, and they've been at the table for all these planning meetings. We just had a meeting. We sat down with the Director of Parks and the Director of Public Works and took them through the project and the scheduling again within the last 2 weeks. So they've definitely been a key member at the table, and we want to incorporate their needs and concerns
How
also.
far down is the rock there?
The rock is not that far from the surface, and I believe in some places we have to remove 10 to 12 feet of rock. So it's blast and cut. It's really slow. Yeah. And that's why we want to do this work in the wintertime, because that's when the park usage is the lowest, and it's essentially good winter work.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about if any improvements are made there where it might be a situation where it'd be easier to get sewage in there, rather sewer line in there, rather than having to, because I know at one time trying to get down south to the sewer line was very, very expensive.
Yeah.
So.
And there are some expenses. I won't give you exact numbers because I don't have them with me tonight. But we did evaluate what the cost of a bypass is, removing the old line and going in the old alignment, and the impacts there, as opposed to doing this alignment. And overall, this alignment went out because its proximity to the river, the lack of cost for the bypass to have that overland bypass, and the fact that we were disrupting less soccer fields this way.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Jameson.
A few months ago, about 6 months ago or something, we saw a map that showed the health of the sewer system throughout the whole city. We kind of had it color-coded, and the overall health of the sewer system throughout the city was in kind of a below what we would want it to be. Mm-hmm. I don't remember all the details, but how big of this fix does that put us towards getting to the acceptable standard that we all want for our sewer system?
Well, this is that last section of pipe. If you remember the map that you're referring to, a lot of this pipe, this is put in the late 70s, early 80s, and it had that level of corrosion. It was in that level 3 of corrosion, where it had a high level of corrosion where the structural integrity wasn't there, and then it also had a high level of infiltration into the pipe. And so this was one that we wanted to deal with very soon. And so if you think about that map and the entire map of the city and that U that went all the way around, and this is the last link of that U. And so everything in that U from 41st Street all the way to the spillway has been replaced since 2010. So a lot of work has happened with your support since 2010.
Councilor Jameson.
Just to follow up, it is hard to argue with borrowing $12 million for these kinds of improvements, and at the interest rate it's at is pretty affordable. But I know you mentioned that the rate increase that we're looking to have is already factored this expense into it.
Right.
So we're not enduring any more expense than we've already projected we would, but it is a part of an ongoing effort to just continuously stay after it so we don't wind up chasing our tails. But it is tough to borrow $12 million all the time. And in this case, in the enterprise fund, we just do it so readily and easily because who can argue with a good sewer system?
Councilor Stengers.
Yes. Trent, you mentioned the pipe that we're replacing was put in the 1980s, is that right?
Late 70s, early 80s, that's right, isn't it, Mark? 80s, yeah.
So 30-year-old pipe that's not didn't last very long is what I'm saying. So this pipe that we're putting in right now, how long is this going to last?
Well, the industry will call it a 100-year pipe, but there hasn't been any pipe of this manufactured type in the ground for 100 years. The issue with the old pipe is it was a concrete pipe, and we all know that in certain environments, corrosive environments, concrete can break down. And how they protected that pipe from that was they actually put a coal tar epoxy. Essentially, they painted the inside of that pipe. And whether it was manufacturing issues or installation issues, if you get a nick, just one small little nick or mark on that coal tar epoxy, those sewer gases and those corrosive forces can get behind that. And so if you remember some of those pictures we were showing you of the assessment in 2010 where it just looked like a house of horrors where things were falling down from the ceiling, That was the liner that was failing. And once that liner fails, you've lost your protective barrier. Now, this pipe is a reinforced mortar pipe, so it's fiberglass. It's a non-corrosive and a non-reactive interior. So from a structural integrity standpoint, it has a better joint system, and from a corrosive resistance standpoint, it's much better than the pipe we're taking out.
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Yourself or maybe Tracy Turback, but since we had the issues with our wastewater, we have bonded 2 or 3 different times.
I believe that's right. I think this is the third bond.
How much have we bonded at this time, and what's our capacity to be able to borrow more money in case there's another emergency in another area of our city? Okay, that'd be a question for Tracy.
Tracy?
Thank you, Tracy Turback with the Finance Office. You kind of caught me cold, I guess, with that question. I can certainly follow up with the specifics of that. I can say, though, that the city has considerable borrowing capacity under any sort of legal limitations that we might have. In terms of the enterprise funds, we're limited really by the financial limitations that we might have in terms of how far are we willing to go with increasing rates to support debt. And it really does come down to oftentimes a question of, are you going to maintain the system, or are you going to let it fall into further disrepair? So I think we're in very good shape. Our utility rates are very competitive, and we've got really a significant amount of capacity in terms of our ability to borrow further to support the infrastructure improvements that Trent is talking about tonight. So but Tracy, I can certainly follow up with some more specifics.
The 2 follow-ups were the amount that we've borrowed since the sanitary sewage pipe collapse in 2010, and then the second one, if you can give the council an idea of the borrowing capacity for the city above and beyond this.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Intamin.
Trent, one question. In your presentation there, you also brought up along by explaining the fact that the pipe is deteriorated because that lining is coming down. We're also increasing the diameter. What does that do for us?
The capacity, we're going to see about a doubling of capacity. The upsizing that we did on Central Main took us from, that was about a 48 to a 60, but when you consider pipe, and you're using the bottom half, that actually doubled the capacity, and we'll see similar numbers from this project also. So
what we're going to be able to do then is services as we continue to develop more. This line is going to allow us to adapt and absorb that capacity need. Is that correct?
Absolutely. There is a component to that. Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you.
Well, Council, thank you. Very good. Would anybody want to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, October 16th for this particular item?
So move, Intamin.
And second, Rolfing.
Councilor Intamin's made that motion, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. If there are no further comments, a roll call vote, please.
Councilors Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intamin?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 11.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement between the City of Sioux Falls and SMG for the management of the Denny Sanford Premier Center, the Sioux Falls Arena, the Sioux Falls Convention Center, and the Orpheum Theater.
Good evening, Council. I'm Mike Cooper, representing Planning and Building Services. Tonight we are looking for a conclusion to a process that began back in March of this year when a request for proposals was issued by the city for a facility manager as well as a food and beverage service provider for the 4 facilities, the current arena, Convention Center, and Orpheum Theater, as well as the future Denny Sanford Premier Center. In May of this year, a selection committee came to you with their recommendation after reviewing the proposals and going through an extensive amount of information, including interviews, that we would move forward with a contract hiring SMG to manage the facilities and Ovations to provide the food and beverage services for those 4 facilities. So over the past few months, we've been working to complete those management agreements, and the food and beverage service agreement. Our contract negotiation team that I would like to publicly thank has included, in addition to myself, Karen Leonard with the City Attorney's Office, Tracy Turback, Tom Huber, and Scott Rust with the City Finance Office, as well as Kendra Simonsa with the Mayor's Office. We also had the expert services of outside counsel, Jim Wiederich representing Woods Fuller Law Firm. We also had some very fine consultants, starting with Susan Seeger with Crossroads Consulting Services, and the Bigelow companies represented by Gloria Pinkerton. And all those folks helped us from the very beginning of putting the RFP together to drafting the agreements that are being presented to you tonight. And then finally, we have SMG and Ovations, the team that we're hoping to hire with your approval tonight. SMG is represented by Terry Torkelson, our local general manager. And also here tonight is Gary McEnany, Vice President, Finance. Representing Ovations tonight is Jay Polkinghorn, our local general manager, and Steve Gergoski, Senior Vice President of Business Development at the corporate level. And all those folks are here tonight to help answer any questions that you might have. This afternoon at the City Council informational meeting, we went through a very extensive overview of the whole process from beginning to end. And that information is available to the public if anybody wants to go back and review that. But for tonight's purposes, we thought we would turn this over to Jim Wiederich, who is our drafter of these two agreements. And starting with the SMG agreement, which is the first one that you'll be voting on, to give you kind of a general overview, and then we would move forward with Ovations after that. So I'll turn this over to Mr. Wiederich.
Good evening. Jim Wiederich with Woods Fuller Schultz and Smith here in Sioux Falls. I've had the privilege of working with the city and the folks that submitted bids on the two contracts that are before you tonight. It has been a very a good process, cooperative in every sense, and we are here tonight with the culmination of that work with many hundreds of hours that were put in by everyone in reviewing the contracts, the terms, and finishing the negotiations. I'd like to just do an overview tonight of the SMG contract. As indicated in the introduction tonight, the facilities that will be managed by SMG, assuming that you approve this contract, are fourfold. They are the Sioux Falls Arena, the Sioux Falls Convention Center, the Orpheum Theater, and the Denny Sanford Premier Center once it is up and running. It is important to note that even though the Denny Sanford Premier Center is not yet built, that the SMG firm was involved in reviewing some of the preliminary designs, as well as Ovations was involved in that process. The help that they gave should help the city and the design team in having a facility that will then be usable once those facilities are completed. The contract with SMG is to represent the city in managing the facilities and also in managing the food and beverage service provided by Ovations. So the SMG is the day-to-day operator of those facilities, is involved in marketing those facilities, making sure that they are adequately maintained, and providing an excellent experience for the people that come and attend events in each of those facilities. The term of the SMG contract is a 5-year term, and it begins January 1, 2013 and ends December 31, 2017. The current contracts that are in place right now for the management of those facilities both expire on December 31 of this year. And a lot of care has been taken to make sure that there is a transition in the process as SMG takes over the management of all 4 facilities or all three on January 1, and then eventually the Denny Sanford Premier Center. It is important to note that while it is a 5-year contract, the city does have the ability to terminate early, a one-time opportunity effective December 31, 2015. The benefit for the city in doing that is that it puts some performance pressure on SMG to perform in these early years and to make adequate arrangements so that the first year that the Premier Center is up and running and being utilized by the public, that it is a successful start. The transaction structure is important because there is a significant difference between the two contracts tonight. The contract with SMG is one where SMG manages the facilities for a fee. As a result of that, it is the city which is the one that is in charge of receiving all the income and paying all of the expenses. This afternoon, one of the questions had to do with the employment of SMG's employees and how that might work in conjunction with this contract. Every expense in operating the facilities is the city's expense, and the city then will reimburse or pay SMG the cost of keeping all of those employees in place. So the bottom line for the city is that if you have chosen the right company to be the manager of the facilities, then that company is going to be the one that either, as in the past, has brought in the expenses and the revenues so as to make the facilities as profitable as possible. And it is hoped that in conjunction with the title sponsorship contract that you approved earlier this year, that the revenue from the title sponsorship, the premium seating that is yet to be sold, the club seats, all of those types of things, that in conjunction with the operating contract through SMG, that you will have a group of facilities that will make a profit and not be an expense that otherwise has to be covered by the city. As I indicated, SMG will receive a management fee, but in addition to that, SMG will make a capital infusion. On January 1 of 2013, SMG will deliver to the city the sum of $275,000 to be used at the city's discretion for operations, pre-opening, and grand opening expenses. So that money could be used to make capital improvements, it could be used for marketing efforts, it could be used for pre-opening and grand opening expenses. And what will happen as a practical matter is SMG will come with various plans to upgrade facilities, to invest in the facilities, and to invest in the marketing of the various events, and including the grand opening. And that money then is made available to help defray those costs. And at the same time, it ensures that SMG will have adequate capital so that it can maximize the profitability for the facilities over the 5-year period. The management fees are in 3 portions. The first is a base fee, and it starts at the sum of $100,000 for 2013. It increases every year by the sum of 2.5% on a simple interest basis, so it's $2,500 increase a year. Then there are incentive fees, and those incentive fees are tied to the gross revenues of the facilities and their ability to generate gross revenues. So what will happen is that prior to the beginning of each year, and there has already been negotiated for 2013, there will be a budget that has been approved by the city, and that's the budget, that's the target budget, and in that budget there will be the determination of the total event revenue that is projected for each year for the facilities. Once that is done, then you go through your operating year and you see if they met those target revenues throughout the year. And if they have, then they are eligible for an incentive fee of up to $75,000 based upon by how much they have exceeded the projection for the year. The actual revenue that you are looking at, we call it adjusted total event revenue in the contract, because what you want to do is base it on those revenue items that are within the control of the city and SMG, rather than those things which are in control, they are not in control of, such as the premium seating sold by Legends, the title sponsorship revenue that is coming in, et cetera. Then there is a qualitative fee, which can equal no more than 25% of the base fee. So for 2013, the total compensation, if all of the fees are earned, would be $200,000 that would be paid to SMG. And then whatever the bottom line is for the city, whether it's a net loss or a net revenue, the city retains the risk or the reward. The qualitative fees are based upon surveys. They're based upon SMG meeting customer and city satisfaction requirements, event diversity, asset management, and operations. Are there any questions regarding the SMG contract?
Jim, thank you very much. Before we go to the council, I do want to open it up for anyone in the audience. This is a resolution, and so you do have an opportunity to engage the council on this. Would anybody like to do that? Very good. Councilor Staggers.
Yes. I'm trying to understand the base fee and the incentive fees. Are these really just pure profit for SMG? In other words, are the salaries of the SMG employees, do they come out of the operating expenses?
Yes.
So this is just pure profit. Is that a fair statement?
It would be a fair statement as it pertains to the Sioux Falls facilities, but of course the SMG has a national office, that provides support to these people, and I'm sure that has to cover their overhead back at their corporate headquarters, because they can't allocate anything at corporate headquarters to us. So I would say in an accounting sense, Councilor Staggers, that it would be pure profit locally, but there is some expense that they support back home.
And also, if I could ask, I was really glad to hear your statements about making profit off these facilities, and I hope that happens. But this afternoon, Susan Seeger, in talking about the contract, just happened to mention in passing that this would minimize the operating subsidy. Was there discussions as you're working on this contract about whether there will be possible operating subsidies or what profit will be made? Were those discussions taking place?
Yes, there were significant discussions on whether the forms of these contracts and the proposals would position the city in as good a position as possible in order to generate profit for what I understand would be probably the first time. Mm-hmm. And that has to be combined with the title sponsorship contract. And then Legends is still retained by you to do the rest of the selling. And when I talk about the rest of the selling, we're talking about the club seats, premium seats that will eventually be part of the Denny Sanford Premier Center.
Thank you.
Well, Council, thank you very much. If there is no further discussion, would anybody want to make a motion to approve item number 11?
I will move that.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Rolfing has made that motion. It was seconded by Councilor Karski. Is there any other discussion? Yes, Councilor Jameson.
Nothing for you, Jim. Thank you, though. I just wanted to make a comment that, does anybody remember when the council last approved a contract like this for the arena? I don't think the council's ever participated. And if you remember, when we initiated this measure to approve all these contracts, this was one of those high-profile ones that we really wanted to be a part of. And even though we're only here at the end approving it, what it's done in effect, has added transparency to the whole process. The mayor and his staff has done a great job, really. SMG, we're thankful to have them here in our city. But the public now is aware of all the details of what their money is going for. And that was one of the objectives we wanted to get done. And tonight we're doing that. I just think we should acknowledge that this is one of those occasions we worked really hard to get done. And it's just part of that check and balance that we all wanted with this process. And I move for approval as well.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Council. We appreciate that. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Councilors Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intamin?
Yes.
Erkenbach?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 12.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement between the City of Sioux Falls and Ovations Food Services LP for the food and beverage services of the Denny Sanford Premier Center, the Sioux Falls Arena, the Sioux Falls Convention Center, and the Orpheum Theater.
Jim.
Thank you, Mayor. The contract before you tonight for approval with Ovations is an entirely different type of contract than the one you just approved for SMG in several senses. With SMG, all of the risk was with the city relative to the operation of the facilities and whether they will or will not make profit. The contract with Ovations for the food and beverage service at these facilities is one where Ovations is the entity that is at risk and can make a profit or not make a profit. The money that comes back to the city under the contract is money which is based upon commissions off of gross revenues. And the more food and beverage that is sold, the greater the commission back to the city. But whether Ovations makes a profit after it takes out all of its operating expenses and pays the commission for the privilege of being in the facilities and using the facilities and providing food and beverage service in the facility is one that is entirely at Ovations' risk. So it is, in terms of risk and reward, it is the opposite that we find with the SMG contract. The nice thing for the city is that the two contracts run concurrently. They run for the same 5-year period. They cover the same 4 facilities. So what happens is, on a day-to-day basis, is that SMG will manage the food and beverage service, but it has to be a cooperative effort between the two. They will work together in marketing the facilities. They will work together in marketing the food service that goes with the facilities when people come and rent the facilities for an event. There is one additional difference with respect to the transaction structure, and that is repairs and maintenance. Ovations will pay for repairs and maintenance on equipment up to the sum of $2,500 per item, and the city will pay for repairs and maintenance that are over $2,500 per item, and that would be pretty standard within the industry. The commission rates are identified as Exhibit C to the agreement. Those commission rates are as low as 5% for the Orpheum Theater, as high as 50% for some of the concessions in the new contract and in the other facilities. Catering runs from 31 to 33%. There are various levels based upon gross revenues in each of the categories. The overall commission rate is estimated at 36.6% over the 5-year period. What is really impressive with the Ovations contract and the offer that Ovations made was the capital infusion. And that capital infusion is $640,000, which is a tremendous amount of money that it's willing to put up front and to upgrade the convention center facilities. Phase 1 in 2013, they expect to spend $165,000. The types of improvements were described this afternoon, some of the equipment that they intend to purchase and to make part of that convention center experience, which is really quite exciting. The benefit of all of that is that the city then is not required to do that capital outlay. But what it does for the benefit of Ovations is it gives them the tools that they need to help market the food and beverage services. The second part of it is a contribution of $25,000 toward the grand opening experience that or event that will be planned between the city, SMG, and Ovations for the Denny Sanford Premier Center. And that money will be used not only for the grand opening, but the marketing of the facility before it opens. And then finally, there are events center upgrades totaling $450,000. And those $450,000 will be used for point of purchase, credit card systems, will be used to provide food and beverage carts and some of the mobile cooking facilities that you will need to make that Denny Sanford Premier Center an outstanding experience that people will remember. I can remember back in the discussion of the community members that you had serve on the selection committee, and everybody was in agreement that you probably won't remember as much about the event as you will about what you ate and what you drank. And that's probably true for most of us when you think back to some of the things that some of the entertainment we've enjoyed. With the capital infusion, though, if for some reason the agreement were to be terminated early because of either the city's default or Ovation's default, that capital infusion is part of it is returnable. It's to be amortized over the 5-year period, and depending upon when that termination date would happen, there might be an obligation to return some of that money, but we're not expecting that we're going to have those kinds of defaults with these two contracting parties. Finally, the last comment is that Ovations, as part of its current services being provided to the Sioux Falls Convention Center, has a liquor license in place, and it purchased that liquor license for $160,000. When this contract terminates, that liquor license reverts back to the city, and there's no obligation for the city to pay for it. Typically, if you were talking about private industry and you had a restaurant that was closing up or selling its operations to another provider, you would have that as part of the obligation to purchase the assets of the restaurant. In this case, that liquor license comes back to the city, and you can then issue it to the next operator, food and beverage operator for the facilities. Questions?
Jim, again, thank you very much. Great job. Anyone in the audience want to engage the council on this topic? Very good. Council, questions? Councilor Jameson.
I meant to ask this before, but the point-of-sale equipment for the event center, would it be a normal practice for us to build the event center without that type of equipment in the building?
I can't answer that. Perhaps some of the consultants could.
No, it's typical in new.
Mike, would you mind coming forward as well as introducing your guest, please?
Okay, I'll just start by, we do have, with the new event center, there's going to be extensive facilities and equipment provided. But what Ovations has brought to the table is an offer to enhance that even more on above what we had thought we would need or that we would plan for. So it's kind of a bonus that they're saying if you allow this investment in the facility, it's going to make it even more profitable in terms of food and beverage opportunities.
So will you, are you saying then that the city has allocated some money that they would have spent, and then essentially you'll collaborate with Ovations and put in a even better system than, okay.
Yes.
So we're getting a benefit, okay. I guess that's it. Thank you.
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Entman.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve item number 12, seconded by Councilor Entman. Any further questions or comments? Yes, Councilor Entman.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank the team again publicly. I know I did at the afternoon session, but the team of citizens that we had, city staff, Mr. Ritterich, and everybody involved, I really would like to thank them, and especially thank Jim for making such a great presentation this evening and really spelling it out. I think you did a great job in summarizing it and presenting the operational aspects. Thank you very much.
Thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Councilors Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Council, any new business for tonight? Very good. Would anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So move, Anderson.
Second, Entman.
There's been a motion to adjourn by Councilor Anderson Jr., seconded by Councilor Entman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Sioux Falls, thank you so much, and make it a great night.